Tov, today's daf is daf Kuf Lamed Beis in Baba Basra, as we learn for Achim Kol Beis Yisrael and Sunnah Tzar Shivya, right from the very first word on the page. Boy Rava. What are we discussing? Yesterday, we had talked about a few days before about Rav Yochim Shita, who said that a person can bequeath to one or two sons out of many. He doesn't have to give it a quit, doesn't have to divide it equally if he so desires. Like more, we had at the top of the page yesterday. Rava asked, was that only by a person who's on his deathbed, a shchimera, or even by a bari? And we came out, it seems the way Tosas describes it and the way the Gemara seemed to say, is that yes, we did bring proof that he says it even by a bari. Whether the person was on his deathbed or not, he can assign all his assets or to 2 out of 5 or 3 out of 10 or 1 out of 10, however he decides to distribute them, as long as he doesn't take away the chelik b'chor. That was one question. Rava says, are we speaking about only a bari or only a shemer or even a bari? And we came out that even by a bari that would apply. Now we brought down another case on yesterday's Daf Hayomi Beis, and on which also Rav is going to ask, what's the halacha? Is that only by a shchimera or even by a bari? And then we're going to have another case, a third case later on today, a different case where also Rav is going to ask, is that only by a shchimera or even by a bari? That's why this case is brought down. And this is what we're going into right now. And yesterday's on the base, Rabbi Yehuda Mishmuel said an interesting thing, that if you gave everything to your wife, she's only a guardian. You didn't really mean to give it to her. You only meant to give her respect, that people should respect her, especially after you're dead, that people respect her. Because again, in those days, women were not respected, right? They were not in commerce. They were very alone, as we'll see. We have the klal, we're going to see it today. A woman would rather be married, more than a man wants to get married. A woman wants to be married. She doesn't want to be alone because there's nobody to take care of her. She couldn't go out and earn money on her own. She wasn't out there as we are today. Today we're in a different society, but in those days it was very difficult. So the question was, pardon?
In some areas today,
today it's like that too. I understand. So so that's the question. Just trying to see where everybody is. It's we're on the right. I think I'm in the wrong one. I think that's what happened. A second. No, I think we're okay. Okay. In any case, okay. So, if a man wrote everything to his wife, she's only a guardian, except if it's his divorced wife or he's an arusa, he's his fiance. Why would he give her? And he's not concerned yet about giving her respect at this point in time. So therefore, he meant to actually give her everything. So if he wrote everything to his divorced wife or to his fiance, then everybody agreed that's a gift. But if he wrote everything to his wife, who's his wife, he only meant her to make a guardian so that she would be respected after he dies. That's what Rabbi Yehuda Mishmuel said. And we said, according to Rabbi Vira, even in a case where he left over sons, let's say, and daughters, and he gave everything to a daughter, among all the sons, he gave everything to her. He didn't mean to give it to her. He only meant to give her respect, and it wasn't considered a gift, right? And she didn't really acquire it. She's only considered a guardian. So now at the page at the top of Kuf Lamed Beis, Boy Rava, in this case, is that only by a shchimera? A man's dying, so when he's dying, he says, "Okay, let me give her some respect, and I will." Who's going to respect her? Nobody's respected her till now. Now they respect her because of me. But when I'm not here anymore, I want to give her respect, and therefore I'm giving her everything right now. Boy Rava, if when he's dying, then he's happy to l'shtam mila. He wants her to be respected. People should listen to her. If he's healthy, what does he have worried about respect? People will respect her because of him. He's alive. He wants her to be respected from right now, because eventually he knows, right? Eventually, as we know, most people, the wives survive the husband, right? Survived by his wife, right? Most cases, the husband dies first. So eventually she's going to be a widow, and he wants her to be respected. So therefore, even now when he's healthy, when he gave everything to her, he only meant to give it to her as a guardian. That's the question. Tashma, let's bring a proof in this case. a man gave all the fruits of his assets, meaning not the assets themselves, but the payros, like the fruits or the whatever is the interest, the profits to his wife. Gobik Sabasam and Akarka. She could still collect her ksuba, but that does not mean that he's given her that takes the place of the ksuba. She's still entitled to collect her ksuba, meaning she does not relinquish the claim to her ksuba. Right? She can collect her own ksuba because this is a matana. Now we'll see later on if he gave her assets. Does that mean that she gave up her claim to those assets from the karka, meaning from the ksuba? A ksuba, when a person writes a ksuba to his wife, he writes in there that you're going to be able to collect this ksuba from any real estate that I have, even assets, real estate that I'm going to collect, that I'm going to get in the future. So over here, he wrote the payers of to his wife. Well, he didn't really give her karka yet. So therefore, she hasn't lost any claim to her karka. He gave her these payers, fine, but she's still going to be able to collect her ksuba from his real estate. The masal shishruvi, let's say he gave her, even this is really like Zuvein Sarach Lamazu, says Rashbam. If he gave her half of his karka or a third or a quarter, still she could still collect it from the rest. In other words, if he didn't give her all his assets, all his real estate, she can collect her ksuba from the rest. Kosav kol mechosav lishto. Let's say he gave her everything. Listen to this case. A man has a wife. She has a ksuba, right? And in the middle of their marriage, he gave her everything. Has she relinquished her rights to collect those assets, those very assets? Now, she has them already, right? But has she relinquished her rights to collect them as part of her ksuba? My nafkamina, she has them already. Now, listen, she got married in 1970, right? In 1980, he had an outstanding loan. And he had given as her collateral for his loan all his real estate. That's in 1980. In 1990, he gave her all these as a gift. He gave her all his assets as a gift. So what do you say now? She's really better off if she has the ksuba, because the ksuba was before 1980, before the loan, right? But if she gives up if by giving her all his assets in 1990, and I mean real estate, gave up everything, she therefore says, oh, I got it right now. I'm good. I'll give up on the ksuba.
The loan hasn't been paid.
The loan hasn't been paid. She doesn't know about the loan. The loan shows up later on. The guy shows up in 2025 looking for his money. So that's the question over here. If he gave her because of and now Shtachov came back, she could tear up the gift. Listen, no, I don't want the forget the gift. I'd rather stand on my rights from the ksuba, because my ksuba was back in 1970. I'm entitled to the money. She has a prior lien prior to the bachov. The chachamim omrim, come say no. Tirka ksubasa tears up the ksuba. In other words, she's relinquished it. V'taman amadnasa, she stands on the gift. V'nimtzas keirachas mikam. She's lost it both ways. She's lost her ksuba. She's lost the gift because she gave it up. Now, why would she do that? You say, why would she do that? Why would she give it up? She doesn't anticipate that there's going to be a bachov. She's so happy by getting these assets right now. Oh, great, forget the ksuba. I got everything right now. She doesn't think about that maybe somebody else. It's very unlikely that a bachov is going to come. From Rabbi Yehuda Nachdom, Rabbi Yehuda, the baker, said, Maisa v'ira. You see, the rabbis, they were sandlers, they were, they were cobblers, they were bakers, right? They were blacksmiths, right?
They were workers.
They were workers, right? We need more of those rabbis, right? A story happened in my family. Basa Chosi, my niece, my sister's daughter, who was also my kala. What do you mean my kala? My daughter-in-law, meaning his son married his first cousin, right? And what happened? His son also decided one day to give all his assets to his wife. Tear up the ksuba, stands on the gift. And if there was an outstanding loan, she's going to lose everything. Now, if the loan doesn't cover if the outstanding loan is not against all his assets and he can lose all his assets, she'll still have a ksuba. But if it's against everything he has and he has nothing left to give her, she'll lose the ksuba. Now, so that's the case. We're going to talk more about that case. Why would she do that? She doesn't anticipate an outstanding loan. She's happy to get the stuff right now, and she relinquishes her rights. Not that she gives up the whole ksuba. She still has the ksuba still there, but she relinquishes her rights to collect the real estate that he's given away that he's given to her now from the ksuba. Let's say he gets more assets later on. He hit it rich later on, and he has more assets that come in after he gave her the gift, and after then she's entitled to collect the ksuba from there because the ksuba is against all future assets that he has until he dies. So now let's understand, what was our question? Our question was, when a man gives everything to his wife, he doesn't really give it to her. He's just making her a guardian. That's what we said, just making her a guardian. Does that only apply by Shemir or even by Bari? Now the Gemara says at the end of the first line, at the end of the first of the wide lines of the Gemara, the whole reason why she lost it in this particular case, where again, the case of 1970, he gave her a ksuba. In 1980, he had an outstanding loan. In 1990, he gave her all his assets. And now she's going to lose the assets that he had at that time. And now the shtarchov comes and collected, the creditor comes and takes it away. She's lost everything that there was still, unless future assets come in later on. Let's say there was an outstanding. Let's say she got the ksuba in 1970, and there was no loan in 1980. There was no shtarchov. He just decided in 1990 to give her everything right now. Smashma would be a kinyan. The whole reason she's lost it is because, the creditor came and took everything away. Otherwise, she wouldn't have lost it. It's mashma that it's hers. If we're talking about a shemira, if it's a shemira, we said if he gave her everything and he was a dying, Rabbi Yehuda Mishmuel said she's only a guardian. Elalav, how can he give her everything and it's hers? Because it's mashma, it's hers, unless it was taken by a credit. It's mashma. Elalav babari. We're speaking about a healthy person. So you see that by a bari, she does get it. That's our question. Boy, Rava is. By a bari, what do you say? By shemira, he's making her guardian, but not when he's healthy. When he's healthy, he's around. He would make her guardian. He meant to give her everything, everything. So the it's a proof that by bari, Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel's rule does not apply, but rather, if he gave her everything, she gets to keep it. Says no. It's only she doesn't get to keep it because there's a bachol, but otherwise she would get to keep it. Says no. Maybe this is shemira. Rav Meir mukala bekulu. Rav Meir will say. Remember, Rav Meir was one who said that even bad bas bein abonim, he only made her a guardian, and certainly by Ishto Arusa, Ishto Agrusha. So Rav Meir says all three cases. Ravina Mukal Ishto Arusa, Ishto Agrusa. In other words, Ishto Agrusha being by those two cases. Meaning, we're speaking about over here the wife that he's giving everything. He was either an Arusa or a Agrusha. That's why she gets everything. Or it's a Bas Ben Abanim, but where obviously Bas Ben Abanim isn't necessarily in this case where because we're talking about a man give it to his wife, right? That's our issue. Or in the case of Bas Ben Abanim, also that may be there. That's why she gets to keep it. But in other cases, there's no proof if a regular wife, there's no proof, even if he's a bari, does that apply or not? Notice there's Rav Meir Shmuel that says, by a shemira, if you gave everything to your wife, you've only made her a guardian, she doesn't get to keep it. Does that rule apply even by bari? We don't know, you can't prove it. Rav Yosef Bar Manyumi Rav Nachman, halacha, that's taka the halacha. Tikrik subasa v'taman amatnasa. Listen to this. A man gave his wife all his assets. Too bad. She's relinquished her rights to collect those assets from the ksuba. More assets are coming later on, yeah. But if he gets no other assets, that's it. Taman masa. Do everything. The Maimer de laws of Rav Nachman Basar Umtara. Is that you're assuming now that Rav Nachman does not follow what we call an assessment, a logical thing of what's going through your mind? Is that really what in other words, you're assuming, if she got all the gifts, she gave up her rights to collect it as a ksuba. Why would she give up her rights? Why don't she listen? I got it right now, but if it gets taken away from me, why did she? If she'd have a lawyer. The lawyer would say, okay, he gave it to you, but don't give up your rights to collect it for the ksuba. If a balchov comes and takes it away, you still have your earlier lien. It's like you have an earlier lien and a later lien. Why would you accept the later lien if you have an earlier lien? So why don't you look at it that way? Why does he paskin that she's given up her rights? But Tanya, we learn that you do look at him. When you look at him? Do you look at the situation and you try to assess it? What is an example of that? But Tanya, a man went overseas. A man's son went overseas, rather. Man had one son. He went overseas. Shama Shemes Mano. He heard Rachmon that his son was overseas and he died. That the son died. He had no other heirs. So he gave it away to the shul. He gave all his assets to the shul, to the government. He gave it away because he figured there's nobody else to leave it to, right? And then the son showed up. It was a mistake. It was a mistake. The shmua that he heard, that he heard the rumor. It was whatever. It was told. It was a false. It was the report. The report was fake news. Fake news, right? He got fake news, and his son showed up. Tanakama says, well, he gave it away already. Too bad. The fact is, he gave it away to the shul. gave the money away to the shul. So he gave it to him. It's a matana. Shimon ben Asi says no. Omer, Eimat asa matana. We don't know. Biyadu, we understood. Had he known, everybody knows that his son been alive, low custom, he wouldn't give it away. So therefore, even though it's not written in the when he gave the money to the shul, he says, I'm giving it to you on the condition that my son never shows up. He didn't write it that way, but it was known. Everybody heard that his only son died, so he gave it to the shul. But if the son showed up, Rav Shimon Nasi says, you look at the situation, you make an assessment. He wouldn't have done it otherwise. So therefore, therefore we say, why do you say that Rav Nachman doesn't go Basar Rav Nachman says, she's given up her share. We don't look at why don't you look at the fact that, had she anticipated the Baal Chov, she wouldn't have given up her rights to collect the ksuba from those assets. So why does it Rav Nachman? And here we say, Rav Nachman says, Rav Nachman said that was from Menashe's. Look at the situation. He wouldn't have given away the money had he known that his son was alive. And Rav Nachman says halacha is like that. So why doesn't Rav Nachman say here too? Had she known that the Baal Chov would have come, she wouldn't have given bribes. Shiny awesome. It's different. The typical it's different over there because she's happy that the rumor goes out that that it's that people hear that he gave her all his assets, that she's responsible, that she's a responsible woman, that she can handle all the assets. Rashbam says in Mishani, here he also looks at the situation. The Kamer Tikrix Bas, why? The Nechla, she's happy, Bahachmatana. Mishim the tape of color, people hear the mehemna, that she's a believable person, she's trustworthy, v'chashuva gabibala, and she is she's respected by her husband, and with that hana, that her husband gave her everything. Look at, I just became a millionaire, my husband gave me everything. She's mochel the shibud on that. V'amra, and V'amra, if maybe a bachol will come and collect it away. I'm not worried about that. I'm not concerned about that. So therefore he does look at it. So that's the halach in this case. Now we're going to see a similar idea. Now, so we've seen that Rava asked the question in two cases. One on Rabbi Yochanan Broka, does it only by Shikmah or also by Bari? Or is it also by Bari? By Rabbi Yochanan Broka, it does apply by Bari. In the case of where he gave all his assets away to his wife and she's a guardian if he's a Shikmah, what about by Bari? We can't prove that case. But incidentally, we saw that if he gives everything away to his wife, right, especially if it's Isharusa, says the halacha tikra to us. If he gave everything away as a shchib me'ra, so we say he's a guardian. If he's a bari, we don't know. But if he's a bari, if he's healthy, maybe it is a gift or not. And we said the halacha in this case, where he gave everything away to her, that she loses her rights to the ksuba, sounds like she really has it. It could be you're speaking about ishtarusa or ishtagrusha. So maybe it's a case like that, but we can't really prove it one way or another. It's not awesome. Another case we're going to start pay mission paya. This is going to be another case in which we're going to ask about bari or not. A man was giving away his assets while he was alive. He's a shchimera. Let's assume now he was a shchimera. He was dying, and he gave his assets away. He distributed to his sons because of lishto karka, and he gave his wife a little piece of karka also there. Of the ksubasa, she's lost her ksuba. That's it. She's lost her ksuba because he gave her a little piece of karka. Said the Gemara, "Mishum the kasel karka kolshu of the ksubasa." What do you mean? Just because he gave her a little piece of karka, she's lost her rights to the ksuba? Why do you say that? How do you know she relinquished it? So three answers. Amarav, Rav says Mazak al Yoda. She acted. She was like the rabbi with the chalipin. She acted with the chalipin on behalf of the other son of the sons. She was the one executing it. She was like the executor of this gift. She was the one distributing it. So obviously she must have agreed to it, even though she only got this amount. In fact, that she agreed to it to distribute it this way meant that she relinquished her ksuba. We're making that assumption. He gave it away in front of her, and she was quiet. She didn't say anything. He said specifically to her, "Take this karka for your ksuba," and she didn't say anything. These are all kulas when it comes to ksuba. Rashbam explains that on all three answers, Rav, Shmuel, and Rabbi Yosef B'Chanina, all of them are kulukoi. The shar balichav, other balichav, we wouldn't get away with this thing unless they said specifically mochel. Here she didn't say mochel. Apparently, he just wrote these things in the ksuba. He wrote, "I'm giving you this. I'm giving my son these sons this, and I'm giving you this amount." Or he gave it to her and she was quiet, but he gave it out, he wrote it out. Rabbi Yossi says, he said, take it as your ksuba. In all cases, she was quiet. She didn't say anything. And that's good enough. Rashbam says, you wouldn't say this by a regular creditor and borrower. You wouldn't say that he's mochel. Normally you have to say something, but by a woman, we assume that she'd rather be married, she'd accept anything. Okay. Tanan, the end of that mission says, Rabbi Yossi Omer, no, im kiblo aleh, if she accepted it, she said specifically, she explicitly said, yeah, I accept that as my ksuba, official kosova, even though he didn't write anything, he just said, I'll accept that of the ksubasa. You need both. He has to write it and she has to accept it. She say, yeah, I accept that as my ksuba. Maybe it's all Rabbi Yossi, and it's all Rabbi Yossi, and Rabbi Yossi saying what? That not only is it either she wrote it or she was makabel, either it was written to her or she accepted it, even though it wasn't written to her. Vatanya Amar Rabbi Yehuda explained to Tanakam, he said, if she was there and she accepted it. And as when he wrote it to her, she was there and she accepted it. If she was there, but she didn't accept it explicitly, or kibla, she accepted for example, she wasn't there at the time, but when she heard about it, she accepted it because she didn't want to make a fuss with her husband. She could argue, I didn't want to fight with my husband then, but unless she said specifically she was there when he distributed it to the sons and to her, and he gave her just a little piece, and she accepted it. She was there and she accepted explicitly. Only then she lost it. Otherwise, she hasn't lost it, right? If she was there and she didn't explicitly accept it, or she explicitly accepted, but she wasn't there at the time, maybe she just said, okay, I don't want to fight with him now. Love the ksubasa. Tifta the kula tifta. This is a kasha on all three rabbis, Rav, Shmuel, and Rabbi Yosef B'chanina, who explained that case as saying that she didn't say anything. If she didn't say anything, she's accepted it. Now, here Rabbi Yehuda explained to Tanakam, saying no, it has to be written to her, and she has to have been there, and accepted it. Otherwise, she doesn't lose the ksuba. Kasha on all of them. Amalei Rav Nachman. So Rav said to Rav Nachman, well, I understand. I got three rabbis here: Harav, Shmuel, Rabbi Yosef B'chanina. They've all been slugged up apparently by Rabbi Yehuda, by Rabbi Yehuda's interpretation of Tanakama. All three. Rabbi Yosef B'chanina. Mar Ma'im Sfilei. What do you hold? Rav Nachman, you was a posik. What do you hold? Amalei Shani Omer. I say, Kivin She'asa Shutef Ben Abanim. Since he made her a partner among the sons, and as the sons got some of the shares and she got a small share of the ksubasa, she's lost her ksuba. Imranami. Amar Rav Yosef Armenyumi, Amar Rav Nachman, again in the name of Rav Nachman, Kivin Shasa Shutta Ben Abanim of the Ksubasa. Now, Rashbam explains that he found that Rav Nachman, he brings down from Rashi actually. Rashbam in the sixth of the wide line says, Matzasi B'Shuvas Rabbeinu Shlomo Zkani, my grandfather Rashi, that Rav Nachman is actually going with the shita of Rav Shmuel. Shmuel was his Rebbe. We have mentioned Rav Nachman or Shmuel. So Shmuel said he's giving everything away, and she was quiet. She was there and she was quiet. So he holds like his Rebbe. And what's the svara behind it? She was quiet. Presumably she agreed to it. She's mochel the shibud, right? He's explained she's mochel the shibud because since she got something, she's happy with that, and she's mochel the shibud. So boy, Rava back in the Gemara now, and again, she's mochel again. All these cases we're saying she's mochel the shibud that the ksuba has on these assets that he gave away. If she were to come upon, if the husband were to get assets later on that weren't involved in this distribution, then certainly she's entitled to that. The ksuba, she's entitled to get against all his assets, all his real estate after he dies or divorces her. Okay. Boy, Rava asked this kasha back in the way. Now we have the third case where Rava says, the bari hayach. What about by bari? Right? We had the case of Rabbi Yochanan Broka that he asked, is that only by shemera or even by bari? And we said yes. We had the case where he gave all his assets away to his wife, and we said there he's only a guard. She's only a guardian. He didn't give it to her. What about if he's a bari? We couldn't prove that, even though we wanted to prove that by a bari, it is a gift, but we couldn't prove it decisively. By Rava, but bari hech. What about in this case? Me amrina do we say b'shchimra who the lesle? Maybe by shchimra there we say she's mochel. You know why? He's about to die. He's giving away he's giving away all his assets, right? To the sons, he distributed this, distributed that to her. He's not going to get anything more. He's dying anyway. He's not going to go out and make more money tomorrow, get more real estate. So there you say, okay, she's mochel. There's nothing else anyway. Become mochel. Aval babari, but a health personality. So listen, why should I get? I'm still thinking about my ksuba. There might be other assets later on. Savra Hadar Kani, he's going to get other assets later on. And therefore I'm not mochel this one either. In other words, even now, when he got a small share, he says, doesn't mean anything. My ksuba is still valid. In the first case, when he's about to die, okay, there's not going to be anything there else anyway. So I'm mochel the rest of it. I'm mochel it. That's it. He gave it to this. And if she didn't say anything, again, according to Rav Nachman and Shmuel, if she didn't say anything, she was like mochel, not the way Rav Yehuda interpreted Tanakama. Also, he'll go like Rashbam explains, that Rav Nachman will go like Shmuel, who goes like Rav Yossi, who says that if she was makabel, even though he didn't write it to her, either Rashbam says it's oha. If she was makabel, she accepted it explicitly, or he just wrote it to her and she didn't say anything. She accepted that because he figures that's it. What's the difference? I'm mochel that. I'm getting something now. I'm mochel the ksuba. But by a bari, she says, listen, he's still going to live many more years. He'll have more assets. She's still thinking about a ksuba. Odil mahashtami or Leslie. You say right now, this is all he has. Even if he's buried, this is what he has, and therefore she's mochel everything. Teku. We can't prove that question by a bari. So in the second two cases that we have with bari Rav, we can't prove it. We're at the first of the wide lines in the Gemara. Hahu da'amalei. We told them, Paul Galabras, listen to this. A man had two daughters. He didn't have any sons. He said, listen, half I'm giving to this daughter, Paul Galabras, and half to another daughter. Could be he had sons, but he wasn't giving it to anything because he's giving it away. Before a man dies, he could give it, we could distribute whatever he wants. So Ahuda Omer Lehu, he told them, Paul Galabras, I'm giving half of my assets, half of my real estate to one daughter, half to another daughter. The Tilso Le'isis Beperi. And I'm giving him my wife a third of the fruits. We're assuming now fruits of the trees, right, that are attached to the ground, and therefore he's actually giving her some karka because she's entitled to the fruits, a third of the fruits of these trees, as long as they produce fruits. If they no longer produce fruits, then she has nothing there. But the land goes to the two daughters. Okay. Ikla of Nachman L'Sura. Rav Nachman came to visit Surah at that time. Rav Chisda went to ask him this question. The great Rav Nachman the Posei came to Surah. So Rav Chisda approached him. Amalei, what's the halach over here? Is this like she's giving up her ksuba because she got these fruits? Amalei Hachim Shmuel, which Shmuel says, even if he only gave her one tree for its fruits of the ksubasa, she's relinquished her ksuba. Unless, in all these cases, unless she protests and says, she says specifically, I'm not giving up my rights to the ksuba. She would say that in all these cases, obviously she said so. But otherwise, we're assuming she gave up her rights because she's happy with what she got. Again, it's only for the assets that she has there, assets that came in later on, she'd still be entitled to. So Rav Nachman Paskin said, like Shmuel, even if you got one tree, that's good enough. Shmuel, so Rav Chisda said back to Rav Nachman, when did Shmuel say that? At least she got something in the ground. She got a tree. Pera, what's the gear? So Pera Ba'alma. Here she's simply getting fruits, like fruits in a basket. The assumption was that she was getting fruits from the tree. Anything that grows on the tree, so she has a share in the ground too. The nourishment for the fruits comes from the ground, from the tree in the ground. So she's getting something. He says, but over here it's only fruits. It's a basket. Malay. So Rav Nachman said, metallically come right. You're talking about where, again, he gave the two daughters half of the property each and gave the wife a truck full of fruits or whatever, but the fruits were detached. I'm not talking about fruit. There she's, in other words, a wife's ksuba is always mishubat, is always collectible from the karka. If he gave her fruits, that's nothing. So he gave her a nice Thanksgiving basket or something. That doesn't mean anything. That has nothing to do with her ksuba. Another case, Hahuda Amar Lahu, a man said, Tilsa Labras, I'm giving a third of my assets to one daughter number one, Tilsa Labras, and a third to another daughter, Tilsa Leisis, and a third to his wife. Okay, got a third. Okay. Shchiba Chadman said, then one of the daughters not being married, we're assuming their daughters were not married, and Rahman said one of the daughters died. Okay, what happens? Who yarshins a daughter? Who yarshins a son if he has no children? Man's not married, has no children. Who yarshins him? Goes back to the father. Remember we learned. What's the order of Yerusha? Sons, then daughters, then fathers. No father, then goes down to the father's kids. So over here, he yarshin from his father. Now, what happens over here? Did the wife relinquish her share that third, the third that, let's say daughter number one got a third, daughter number two got a third, the wife got a third. Then daughter number one died. So that means that the father re-inherited. Now he inherited from daughter, he got number one back. Is the wife entitled to that third as part of exhibit? She relinquished her rights to that third when she's collecting the ksuba. Again, it's if the ksuba is against that karka. If the ksuba is against that karka, we're not talking about, if she collected her ksuba, she got $200 and that's $200 and that covers it. Fine. If that's her whole ksuba is $200, we're talking about where she had to collect the $200 from that land. So what happens here? Savra Papi Papi wanted to say lo shakal. No, she only gets the third. She only gets the third. That she's relinquished her rights to that third of the daughter number one who died, and that third went back to the father. Amalei Rav Kana said, I understand. Ilu harakani milo shakla. If the father, after he had given away a third, and a third, a drittel, right? She gave away a third, and a third, and he had then bought more assets later on. All of a sudden, he went into the stock market. He made it rich, and he had a lot of real estate. She'd be able to collect ksuba from there, right? Because again, all these cases where we say the wife relinquished her rights, she relinquished her rights for those assets that were given. Of the assets that were at that time, she's relinquished her rights to those assets against her ksuba. But if he comes up with later assets later on that she could collect her ksuba from, he's entitled to. So if Khan says, Ilu harakani milo shakle, if the father would get more assets later on, she'd be able to collect that. Even Ilu harakani shakla, hashanami shakla. This is also new stuff. This is new stuff. In other words, the third that the father now inherited from his first daughter who died, that's like new assets. So the wife would be entitled to that. Take a look at the Rashbam at the top line of the page on Kuf Lamed Gimel. Less Leisha, would she not get it? Bit me, of course she'd get it. Havadi Isla. Then the Machla Shibuda Lebanos, she was Mochler Shibud on the other 2/3 of the land that he had given to daughters number one and number two. Bishvil Sha'asa Shutta, because he made her a partner, Benan. So Chov Tsubasa Milamach, she wasn't Mochel the whole Ksuba. She if she found could go and she eat in the chasam, she buy if he gets other assets later on. So investment she can collect from there. And like it's written in the ksuba says, I'm entitled to collect my ksuba from your assets. Uda osit on a lemekne, and he writes from the assets that I have and the assets that I'm going to get in the future. They'll be obligated to her. Even the ilu if he would buy assets from somebody else, Omi Morushav, or he inherited from some great uncle who died, Isla Isha, she's entitled to collect from there. When the father got back the third of the nechasim that he had given to daughter number one who now died, Atzman, Isla also. The Mali Osna Chasim Atzma, what's the limits of those assets? Mali Acherim. Sheim Nisratzes Lahaktis. She's mochel de labala, mia lo mochla, labala mimach. She's mochel the 2/3 to the other daughters. But if the daughter's not here, she's not mochel from her husband, right? Labala mia lo mochla, midi. She's not mochel. Imtimsa, mochel. She can collect from her husband in some way. He has those assets back. He can collect. And that's talk of the halacha. All right, tomorrow we'll pick it up from the second line. Another case about these kind of these cases. Have a good day, everybody. Talk to you.
Father that gave away a third.